It did. Did you hear me?
No.
Yeah.
Who? Kim?
Yeah, I think it's going.
Close. Oh, that wasn't part of it?
Hmm?
Oh, I thought it was.
Opportunity.
Oh.
All right. How are you all doing? Now, there's some way that I
Hi,
can
I'm
get
Tracy.
questions, but I'm not
Tessa,
sure.
nice to meet you. Hi.
Mhm.
Hi.
How are you?
What's your name?
My name is Josh.
Hi, Josh. I'm Tracy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
He's on Bia's team.
Oh, cool.
I
Are you on
stared-
Bia's team too? No?
I'm not.
No?
She's individual, but I stared at her every time she comes through because I had a friend who looked so like her.
Look at you.
Oh, really?
Okay, let's see.
Did you have it operated on?
Mm-hmm.
My shoulder's killing me.
It's called a massive tear. Actually, the physical therapist, we had to. I was doing so good, and the doctor says, "Yeah, she's doing really great. She can't do this, this, and this for another 2 weeks."
So have you had it operated on, or you have it scheduled? Oh, poor baby.
On the 8th of March, it was done. I just don't wear this thing around my neck because that bugs me. I'm getting very good luck here. Hi, you're a new face. I am. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Sheila Lair. Hi.
I'm Valerie. Hey, Valerie. Nice to meet you, Sheila. I'm Tessa. Hey, Tessa. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Tracy.
Good to meet you.
Okay. All right, is this it? Oh my gosh, so cute. What do you guys want to talk about? Be quiet.
Well, I have a question on getting on our home warranties, and if you are the listing agent,
Yeah.
and you put it on the listing,
Mm-hmm.
that covers your seller, but how do you transition it into the contract so that you're not paying for it?
Why do you not want to pay for it if you're offering it? Usually it would probably be, here's the thing, you got to decide up front. Are you going to your seller as an incentive to list
Yeah.
with me by saying I'm doing this home warranty thing, nothing's paid until then, and you're going to take it out of your commissions as part of your spiel as to what you're bringing to the table, or not?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, and they're paying it, then it would come out of their proceeds, but you're going to have to let escrow know who pays for it. Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
like a buyer's home warranty. It's paid once closed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a conversation with your seller and you.
Okay.
Because I know some agents, you know, they offer to stage, others don't. It's whatever your game plan is.
Okay.
You could even put that in the listing presentation that they're paying for it as one of the check items.
If the seller pays for it.
Yeah, you could.
It's whatever you want. I mean, it's your business. It's how you want to promote it.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking, because I've never seen how you transition it. If you advertise that it's there's home warranty involved, the buyer's gonna expect the seller to be paying for that. I would if I saw that in the listing.
Right, but see, what you're not understanding, you're buying the seller a home warranty. You're not buying the buyer a home warranty. My understanding is you're saying to the seller, you don't even have to pay for this. But once I fill this out, your home is covered clear to closing.
Mm-hmm.
So that if, let's say, recently we had a house that pipes burst, and the agent calls me, oh my God, the pipes burst, the wood floors are ruined, closing's in a week, what the hell are we going to do, blah, blah, blah. Well, had he bought a seller home warranty, that would have covered the house. They would get those repairs done. You would be fine. But because they didn't have a warranty, the seller had to go through their home insurance and stuff to get these things resolved. So the incentive is you're saying to your seller, look, you're covered if any of these little things happen last minute.
Yeah, but what he's saying is you're not offering it then up to the buyer on the other side. You're just covering it while you've got it listed.
Because the buyer warranty, home warranty is totally different. Seller's home warranty is for the seller, not the buyer.
Okay.
They're covering the house up until it's sold. Once it's sold, the buyer owns it. That home warranty isn't any good. Now you need a buyer's home warranty.
Okay, I've never known that there was a price for the seller's home warranty. They always said that if you put it.
No, you're looking at this differently.
Okay.
Let go your preconceived thoughts in the past, okay? everybody's pretty much programmed to buy our home warranty. It starts at closing,
Right.
good for 1 year.
Right.
A seller home warranty has nothing to do with the buyer. It's a warranty you're offering the seller by the same companies that's paid off at closing just like a buyer, but they're paying off the warranty for the seller, which cover the home from the moment you signed them up until the moment it's sold. And once it's sold, that seller warranty is done.
Okay, I've never heard of paying for a seller warranty. I've always heard the
It's
warranty guys going, oh, it's free for the seller.
Well,
During
I
the
don't know
listing
how that,
period.
you know what? You're asking me questions you need to talk to the home warranty company about.
They do, and they do offer that. The one
Yeah.
thing I want to say though, because this happened to me in a burned situation,
Mm-hmm.
is if you don't explain, and this is being a better agent, by explaining to your client how it works. In other words, you have to explain to them, because we have a home warranty on the house, the instructions are if anything happens, you call the warranty company first, not the contractor.
Right.
Because if they call the contractor first, it voids the warranty and it won't be able to be covered. So you are a better agent for saying, and let me explain this, and then you take and you get from the warranty company like their little phone numbers on a magnet and throw them all over the refrigerator.
Except
say-
that Ben's new one,
Oh,
you pick your own contractor.
well, that's.
Right, that's the
concept.
company though. It's not Ben's home warranty.
Well,
It's
I
a
understand
company.
that. The one that Ben
Right, and
does-
that company, and that is their policy that they let people pick their own vendor, which actually for a buyer's home warranty, that's a
It's
better
amazing.
deal. It's a much better deal, and I certainly would start using them.
Yeah, because what happened to me is then the client said, well, you didn't tell me that, and they got screwed, and the warranty didn't mean anything to them. So the value went out the window. But I got a brand new furnace recently on my own personal home, because when you buy investment homes too, always get a
Yeah.
warranty on
Oh,
it.
I had them on
Covers
all my rentals and it paid off big time.
So is your concern you don't want to buy a seller warranty for your seller?
No, I've always heard them explain that there was no charge for the seller's warranty during that listing period. And so I was trying to figure out how you transition.
Well, wait, what they're saying is, yeah, so what they're saying there is, your seller's not paying for the warranty during the listing period. They're paying for it when they close. See?
And they're paying, no, see, the way
You're,
they
you
told
know
me-
what?
I'll call them.
This is an argument in this class that I have no answer. So
Okay.
you need to be talking to the people that know the answers. Okay? All right. Now what? That was kind of whatever.
Sorry.
Let's get something a little more gutsy.
Can I ask you about hiring an assistant?
Yeah. You want to hire an assistant?
Yes, I have one that I'm looking to bring on, but I don't know the logistics of it, like as far as job description and I guess sick. paid
So what
sick
kind of
days, days off or
assisting
something.
are you wanting your assistant to do?
Probably to start out most everything besides meeting with the client.
So you're what? Like you want your assistant to do searches for you, get it prepared,
Yes.
do your dot loops,
Yes.
transaction coordination, respond to your emails,
Yes.
pretty much everything.
Yes.
Okay,
Office manual.
Yes.
so first of all, there is no, you can look in the Red Book, there's job descriptions in there. You can choose to go buy those if you want. But it's your own business, it's your own job description.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have, here's the job description for what you want. But I would say that's a good spot to start. Be aware though, if they're unlicensed, your assistant, you need to look at DOL because they have rules as to what they can and cannot do.
Right, of course.
They cannot give any kind of advice or answers on properties because then that's presenting itself as an agent and they're not.
Even
Right.
price.
Right.
Yeah, so they can't talk to them,
Right.
basically. They can't sit at an open house for you,
Sure.
you know. So that's why some, like me, I have my admin who also is licensed so that I don't have to worry about any overlaps. They can do everything.
And I think gradually that is the goal,
Mhm.
not right away. I was looking at like auto insurance and like if she's running errands.
Well, first of all, why are you looking at auto insurance?
Well,
She's
I-
freelance. She's not an employee, is she? Is she 1099?
I don't know that either.
Okay,
I'm kinda
I would
starting
say,
to stop.
I would recommend if you're just starting, I would do them as a 1099. They're not your employee, but then you got to make sure they can work on their own computer, work at home, meet with you, and stuff like that.
Right.
They have to insure their own home, not their own home, but their car.
And if,
But look at your contract with KW. You can use the same thing in there. It says the requirements for car insurance. I mean, this person, he or she is not running around with clients in a car anywhere, are they?
not to begin with.
No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't advise you how to write your contracts with your employees or your 1099 help, independent contractors. That's just part of being an owner. You got to figure that out on your own. Some agents will work off the red book and develop, but I would say most down the line will eventually talk with a lawyer and get their advice and input as to make sure that it's everything's covered that you would want. Because they're going to be looking at your whole business. Like, what if they quit in 6 months? Do you want, like, hey, you can't take anything here that these are my leads, these are my contacts, that kind of thing.
Right.
You want to think about that. Okay? What's up?
You've done a bunch of videos.
Yeah, I've done a few.
Where can I find those?
The videos, you go to KW Connect.
Okay.
When you're in KW Connect and you open it, you will see your beautiful face in the right-hand corner. You just hover over it and you'll get a drop-down menu.
Okay.
And then when you get the drop-down menu, you want to click on, I think it's Contacts. And then you'll see that you're in there already as being a member of our Market Center. And if you click on that, then that opens up to all the videos for the Market Center.
I'm going to show them. You have to hit a connect thing. There's a different little button. I can show you
Is
really
it
quick.
this? Am I in the right place?
No. First of all, you
Yes.
got to go to the education bar, and you go to KW Connect. So you're opening that, okay? I don't know why you're not opening. Oh, you have a Mac. That's the problem.
No, I have a Mac. That never does that. There you go. KW Connect.
It's not a PC.
Sign in again.
Then you have sign in. Okay.
Okay.
Now you're in there. Now see in the top your little face.
Got it.
Go over
Now
there.
go hover over it. Now go to community.
It's hard to do this from the sun.
So scroll to community. Click on that. And now you're in there. So now you go to your group because that's the office.
Okay.
And that's where all the videos for this office are put.
Got it.
So you have access to those.
He has to go to downloads or uploads or whatever it says.
Uploads up here.
Yeah, then you click on that and then it shows
Yeah.
them all.
Yeah. It's intuitive like me.
There they are.
But they're all in there. The unfortunate thing is KW has sidelined the request of allowing us to make folders to make it easier to maneuver and find things.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we can just dump things in and you just got to scroll through and find things. It's supposed to be happening someday. I don't know when.
It's in the lab. That'd be nice.
It's in the lab, and apparently it's not a priority lab like I think it should be.
Okay, so you got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay? Did that answer that? Do you all understand how to do that?
Do you have a buyer agency in there, by the way? I don't think you've
About
done
buyer
that.
agency? No.
Could you do
About law of agency?
Yeah, no, the buyer agency form.
Oh, no. I've never done one.
Could you do one? Could you? and
Well,
Rebecca
I
do
can
one?
be honest about my buyer agency form. Nobody likes what I have to say because I never used one in my entire career.
Well, then you don't say that. You just go do it.
I told you. That's why I don't talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm unplugged. I'll be up front. I don't believe in them. I think they're bogus. They're not very enforceable. And whenever some agent comes and says, oh, I lost my buyer, but I have buyer agency, and I want that commission because they went and bought that house I showed. Well, in your buyer agency, it's spelled out in the fine print that if you say they're going to owe you 3% or whatever, if they leave you and they go buy that property you just showed them and it's paying a 3% to the other agent, they don't owe you a dime. All they owe is any agent in the world, they owe 3%.
Okay. Can I be the devil's advocate on that?
You can. I know this. I've talked to the legal.
Oh, I know. You're absolutely right. But why I would never not use one is because it's the mindset that you
Right,
create,
no, and I
that they're
agree.
committed to you.
I was getting to that.
Yeah.
It's just them committing to you. But you can't sit on your butt and think that you've got this all locked in. Because all they have to do in buyer agency is send you an email and say, I no longer want to have buyer agency. And it's dead. You don't even have to agree to it.
Well,
it's
we're
over.
way better than that. We're the best agents on the
So
planet.
if it's about having, the commitment, like I'm committing my time. I mean, I would look at it more as you want to commit time with them. And you're saying by signing this is telling me you're committing to work with me, and I'm committing now to put in all my time and effort to get you a home.
Right.
And that's why you do it. But it's not, I get frustrated because agents come to me and just think, well, I lost my client and I get this. And it's not like that. It's like the question at that time, as I will put to you as an agent, is why do you think you lost your client?
Crappy service.
Where did you fail?
Yeah.
And is it really going to help your business now? You think you're going to go sue them? And think about that social media campaign mounting against you as you sue your buyer clients.
And sometimes it's not just a matter of where did you fail? It's
Right.
sometimes our failure is the judgment of character and not putting enough value on our own precious time too. So
Mhm.
I don't choose to, once in a while you're going to get screwed. That's going to
Yeah.
happen. But I don't choose to work with people that are
Not committed.
not committed.
Right. And
And I'll
I'm
make
that.
that clear.
Yeah, and I have that conversation with all mine too. As that is, if you're going to work with me, you commit to me, and you're not working with another agent. Because I have had people say, well, you can, if you find something, let me know. And as soon as someone says that to me, I go, well, then you're not really ready to buy, because no agent, I'll be up front, is going to work for you under the guise of, if you find me something, let me know. Because first, you won't get it. You're not approved. Second, I have people approved that are really working and committed to me, and they're the ones I'm working with. I don't have time for someone like you on the side.
I had one client that called me, interviewed me, and said, we're interviewing other agents. And I said, okay, well, let me know. He calls back and says, we've decided we want to work with you. Can we go out on Sunday? We go out. And so I always let him go with one or two till we know each other a little bit.
Right.
Presented the form. Turns out he'd been out with somebody else the day before. And he says, can we decide by the end of the day? Well, by the end of the day, he was saying, well, whoever finds me at first. And I says, you know what? I don't work that way.
That's not a good
and
client.
I walked away.
Yeah, that's
And-
not a client.
and it
That's
was
someone who doesn't value your time, doesn't respect your
Yeah.
profession,
Yeah.
and they should just probably go to Redfin.
You're
What's
fired,
the
buddy.
form isn't there a form that is per, like, here, sign this, it's for today's showing?
No,
Isn't it like?
I'm not aware
That's
of
a Sam
that.
DeBello one.
It is. Sam, I think, has gone and seen an attorney.
Yeah.
The other question I would have is, and this was an agent in Indiana, so a whole other state, but one of the guys, a buyer, he was just an agent, got a retainer fee on every single client.
I
And if
think that is something that we should all get.
Well, as far as
It's
charging
not
your
worth it.
client a retainer fee up front, good luck in this
Well, yeah,
market.
we
Well,
aren't going
he was
to,
the
but I
only one.
think
He was
that
the only
would
one
be-
doing
yeah.
it.
Right.
And
I
here's-
mean, again, it's your business, it's your model. If
Yeah, I
you
don't
think
think
you
we-
can make your business work on a model of that, your clients pay you a retainer fee up front like a lawyer to go out and work.
Yeah.
I mean, my question is, okay, you're paying me this retainer fee up front. Do I get it reimbursed when you get your commission?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Credit cards,
Some
commissions.
people might be able to work that. You hear of some people that get more than 3% commission and how they do it. It's you guys have got to remember, this is your business. It's your decision how you want to do it. So if you want build a business on getting a retainer, go for it. No one says you can't.
Yeah, I just wish, I really wish that it was kind of like commonplace, because that would be,
Well, you can
You know,
make it
for none
commonplace
of
for you. That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
you
I
can do
know.
it.
I mean,
I don't-
commonplace is
yeah.
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Every agent, when they're out there promoting themselves and trying to get clients, they're all promoting
Something.
their model.
Yeah.
So if you're promoting your model and you're not getting clients, then my question is, what about your model or you're not selling the value?
Right.
So if someone is able to get a retainer fee up front, they must be offering some kind of value that these people are willing to pay that. And that's probably his security, because I'm willing to bet if he's doing a retainer, it probably says you don't get it reimbursed if you don't close with me.
Right. Right.
So they lose it.
Right. Keep
So.
them committed to
Yeah,
one person.
but it's not a bad idea. Let me know how it goes for you. What do you need?
I'll give you his name and call.
Another question. You're new. I'm picking on you.
I know. I need to watch these videos, so I have questions to ask.
Oh, okay. You've
You
been
told me-
blindly writing contracts and you never watched any videos on contracts? Well, how do you think that makes you feel?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of like going out in the woods and saying you know your path,
Mhm.
but you don't, and you get lost.
Mhm.
So yeah, watch the video,
I
contract
will watch the
videos.
videos.
They help a lot. Okay, Mario,
Yes,
you're
sir.
quiet over there. What's going on?
I've got one for you.
What?
1031,
1031 tax change.
correct. I haven't done one. I closed on my seller's condo.
Mm-hmm.
We had a loose conversation about her potentially doing one, taking the net proceeds of that sale.
It's too late if you already closed.
Yeah.
1031 tax exchange. Once you close and that money hits your client's account, it's no longer able to do 1031. You need to have, if you have a client that wants to do a 1031 tax exchange, you have to say to them right then and there, have you already hired a 1031 tax exchange lawyer? Because you're going to have to, and you need to do that before we close. Because, and then generally you'll have to acknowledge in the contract just a simple line, you're doing a 1031 tax exchange.
Right.
As far as the buyer in a 1031, there's no cost to them, it's all the seller. But the
Right,
lawyer's there basically because they get the proceeds from the sale,
right.
hold on to it. Your client has so many days to identify, get closed, and then they move the money there so it never hits her account.
Right.
Next question though, this condo you sold, was it a rental
So
or
it
was
wasn't-
that her primary residence?
She bought it in college. It was her primary. She bought it as her primary residence. She lived in it for, I want to say, 2 to 3 years,
Yeah,
and then has held onto it
as a rental.
as a rental.
Okay.
Now, is that
Basically, you only can do 1031 tax exchange on investment properties. You can't do it on your primary residence.
so?
But if she moved out and had been renting it for, a number of years, then she probably could do a 1031, but a lawyer is the one to have to answer it. I know the laws around 1031 tax benefits have changed, so I don't know, because I'm not an accountant, I'm not on top of
Right.
it. But yeah, she thought about it too late, because she
Right.
closed.
So she will be paying.
Taxes, yeah.
McFerrin Law Group has a good 1031 exchange
Okay.
attorney.
Thank you.
I mean, they can get them probably at any point, even before the contract. I mean, as long as she hires them before, so they set
Right.
up with escrow for the money.
Can I?
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
spinning off on that. I feel a little bit guilty
Why?
for not setting that expectation a little bit sooner.
Get over it. Get over your guilt.
Guess
You don't
what?
know everything.
You're gonna make
You don't have the right
more
to
mistakes.
You're not a lawyer.
Right.
Sometimes you guys have to remember, we are not the one source for everything, and that they need to step up and take some ownership in this. This seller, if she was thinking it, in this day and age, why didn't she at least Google? I mean, one Google search, she probably would have found a definition of what it is, and then she would have thought, oh, I have to get a lawyer.
Right.
So the fact that it's an afterthought for her, I wouldn't feel guilty about it at all.
Okay.
My suggestion is, though, if ever, you get asked something you don't know for sure, always start asking questions of the people around you so you get some answers. But she needs to take ownership in that, too. So you're absolved of your guilt. All right? You feel better?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Sure.
Good.
Is this time for, thank you, Father, for because I have a couple of my own.
Yeah.
No, I feel like I've done everything as good as I could, except a couple of questions. I talked to Michael last week about a really hard, I'm working with buyers and a very, very challenging listing agent and challenging sellers
Okay.
that had a house. They lowered the price. They were investors, the sellers, and they purchased it, closed December of 2017, and they sold it. That's not me. Sold it then, and then they put it on the market like early February of 18.
So they just went in and did a quick flip.
They didn't do anything to it.
Right,
Right.
okay.
that I can
Oh,
tell.
so they buy, close in December, on the market February, didn't do anything.
So
And they raised
then
it really high.
the price, they came in quite high, and then they dropped the price, I don't know, my days are running together, but, like a couple weeks, but we had seen it at the higher price, I
Mhm.
believe. And we came in again after exhausting everything that was on the market at the time, and all of a sudden the light bulb went off on how we could do something with the property to enlarge the square footage
Right.
and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. So now it made sense. It would have the great room that they wanted, and the floor plan would make
Mhm.
sense, and it seemed feasible
So
for
did you
them.
pull a deal together?
We did, but what happened was the listing agent was so hard to communicate with, and when we put in our offer was a little low,
Right.
lower than asking price. She came back and said, the seller said verbally they would have to have asking price. So then we came in at asking price, which was 1.3, and then, crickets for a while, and then they raised the price. They said, she's gonna take it off the market and move into it.
I would have
So-
said go for it.
Well, that's what I would have said, but my
Right,
buyers
right.
wanted
Well,
to buy
you
it.
can't-
They wanted
no.
this house, and
Yeah.
they now could see that they were going to
Pay
have
more.
what they felt like they would pay. Would have
Mhm.
paid. It's only $10,000 more than their original asking
Right.
price, by the way.
Yeah,
But
it's
that's
not
what
bad.
they wanted. It was exactly the
Well-
location that they wanted. We talked about this.
Mhm.
I would have walked away from that.
So
Now
what's
now
the
we're going
issue?
to inspection, right?
Okay.
And I'm very particular on it, and I may have messed up here by making it so harsh on, the 1958 home, having a licensed plumber come in and work with the water pressure, or,
Mhm.
clean the residue out of the pipes. I mean, I just thought that they would come back and give us more money.
Mm-hmm.
And they, there's an oil tank, what would you say, evidence of a previous oil
Right.
tank, the inspector
Mhm.
said, so we had the oil tank, or I didn't have it, I did all the research and found that there was a permit taken out on it in 2001 for the previous sale before
Right.
these sellers, right? A couple of sellers back. And the permit had expired, so there's no proof that
Right.
that the
You know
work
how
was
you
done.
can handle that?
Tell me what you would do, because it's already
All right.
solved, but I hope it's the way you would do it.
You have to hire an oil tank decommissioning company, and they got to come out and they walk the property with their little detectors. They find out where it is, they dig down, and then they can verify if it's been capped and sealed correctly or not, which would then indicate it was decommissioned. And if not, then you need to have it decommissioned.
So they've done, they went in with and there's a letter for it, and
Right.
The oil tank people did take a metal detector out, they blew the things, and
Right.
so there's no oil tank there.
Right, so that's not a problem now.
Can I
So,
also tell you about PLEA?
Yeah.
yes,
You have 6
learned.
months for that, so regardless.
But isn't that when
That's
you have
for
a full
use,
one?
that's for,
Yeah,
that's not on a
currently operated
decommission.
one.
No,
this
but
is-
it's- But it's liability against contamination.
Well, no, here's how PLEA works, okay?
It's when you want it.
When you purchased a home and you sign up with the company, you have to get your PLEA insurance then.
You have 6 months to.
But you have to get it then. What
Right.
she is with a buyer buying a house from a seller who has a tank on property that was not in use.
Or
So there
gone,
would be
it's
no
gone.
PLEA insurance on it, period.
It's been-
It's not in use. They wanted to find out if it had been decommissioned.
But PLEA isn't just for in use, it's also for any contamination.
But again, she's representing the buyer. We're talking about the buyer and what to do when you find this. It has nothing to do with PLEA insurance. That's up to the seller and whatever they got.
No, that's not my understanding. My understanding is that the buyer can apply for.
But no, but
coverage.
that's only after they buy the house.
Yes, correct.
This is prior to buying. Before you buy a house, why would you tell your buyer, let's buy a house. We know there's an oil tank buried, but we don't know if it's decommissioned. We'll figure all that out after we close. Because there could be contamination, there could be all sorts of things. That would be a very bad thing to advise your client. What she was doing is correct. You want to identify, has that been decommissioned? No one knows. And if it
He's
hasn't,
just not
we want
finding
it.
It's gone. I mean, it's not there. That's what the
Well,
oil
they may
tank guy
have,
said.
but see, the oil tank could have been above ground. It was just removed. It's rare they'll remove them out of the ground, but there are times where they built oil tanks that were above ground attached to the house. And if it was like that, then they would just remove it.
Well, whatever I mean, like he's running air, and it's like not.
Did you
there.
hire a company though that
I
walked the
didn't
property?
hire it. The seller, selling agent or listing agent did. Seller's agent did.
Right.
So they provided that at
report.
their cost. They provided the report. So
Okay.
anyway,
so
my buyers signed off on
that they
the
were
inspection.
satisfied.
Yes, and so I'm just now I'm going because I wrote the verbiage so harsh on everything. Now I'm concerned that the lender might not
right.
just with that. I'm talking about the
All the
electrical.
other things. Okay.
You know,
Here's the bottom line. Okay, you represent your buyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had things they wanted to address, right?
they didn't care. They just wanted the house.
Right.
I
You
said
got
you
all
should
fired
get
up?
some more money out of them. Yeah.
Whatever, you advised them
Yes.
and they went with your advice. So, yeah, if you're wanting repairs and all, you're going to have it in your contract. Otherwise, it's not enforceable.
And all they did was they took care of the oil tank inspector to come out, and they took care of the they gave $1,000 credit that
Right.
they could stain the deck with.
Right, but okay,
Or
here's
whatever.
what agents do sometimes. Let's say you had a laundry list and they sign off. Like, we'll do 1 and 2, but 3, 4, 5 we won't. And now you're concerned 3, 4, 5, an underwriter is going to read this and say, oh no,
That's-
there's a problem. Well, guess what agents do? They'll agree to this, and then they'll say, you know what? Let's just change our inspection response and just write that, oh, they're going to decommission the oil tank and they're going to just give us $1,000 credit and not have all that other stuff in there, sign off, and then that is in your contract, not the other one you originally
Can't
said.
do that.
Yeah,
Right?
you can. People do it all the time.
So you're saying you would rewrite the 35R?
Yeah.
I thought you couldn't do that.
You can do anything if the parties agree.
So in other words, if the lender comes back and says we don't,
The lender
won't
isn't
lend
ever, okay.
the underwriter.
The underwriters only see the signed around Form 35R that you submit
Which was so you're saying I'd have
long before you submitted it. And this is what I'm
it's
saying.
already at the lender.
Well, yeah, it's already a done deal. It's
That's
at the
okay.
lender. You can't take it back. What I'm saying is I've done this, I'm sure Tracy's done this. You send over a 35R and you have your list, okay? You negotiate the list and you get down and you're finally like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to give you cash. Trust me, you go to the listing and say, great, let's rewrite it. We're going to send it over. We're just going to say you're giving us a credit because that way it'll look cleaner for the lenders. And you know what? The listing owner will say, absolutely, we're going to do that because we don't want a laundry list on there.
Don't want it to flip at the lender's eye.
It's the same thing. It's like you agents, you're sending contracts back and forth, and you'll have Form 17 attached because you give it. Well, you all need to realize Form 17 is a disclosure. It is never part of your contract. You never have to give that to an underwriter or a lender. So you better be separating out your Form 17 because agents blindly, oh, we're mutual, send it off to the lender. Now this underwriter gets to read Form 17 and they can call things out.
Isn't that, you can also say on your 35R per attached and do your laundry list on an attachment as
But
opposed
even
to
if you
putting
say
it
per
there?
attached, the underwriter's going to say, I want to see attached. I get to see everything you say is in the contract. You can't say, here's 35R, but we're not going to show you the attached list. That's not going to fly.
So, thank you, Father Bryson.
You
I
did
always
it.
ask
Do anything
myself,
right.
what is the worst? This is how I ask myself. What is the worst thing that can happen? So, in my opinion, return it back on me, Jedi.
Worst thing that could happen is the underwriter will see the things you crossed out, and they might determine, well, we feel like these are still serious concerns in this house, and we're not going to fund this until we know these repairs have been done.
So the worst thing that could happen then is the seller could say, well, we're not going to do it.
Right, they could, but then there
And
won't be a
then-
deal.
And then my buyers would have
But
to.
question first, do you have a 22A in your contract financing addendum?
Yes.
Then you don't have to worry, because if the underwriter calls out the work, they're
That's
saying,
what I'm hoping.
right, then
That's what I thought
basically
was
you can
worse.
go back to the seller and say, we can't close on the loan because the underwriter wants this work done. Seller says,
That's what I
I'm
was
not gonna
hoping
pay
was.
for any of this work.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't pay for it, we have 22A, our financing won't go through, we'll get our earnest money, and you can go back on the market, but you're gonna have to disclose on your Form 17 all these issues now, and so you're gonna have to deal with it
There you
again.
go. So that's what I kind of said to myself.
Right.
As things evolve, I'm going, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? The lender wants to have this
Yeah.
done ahead of time, and does the
Right.
seller really want to lose the deal?
One thing agents do, and I tell agents all the time, is you guys freak yourselves out on worst case scenarios, thinking that, oh my God, the world's falling. And I look at you and I go, why are you freaking out? Nobody's even asked this question. Like, why don't you not worry about things until the question's asked?
I mean, literally, feel like you're having a heart attack sometimes, right?
Because this business is stressful enough. Why add on to the stress things that may never even be questioned?
Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, you're right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked many of you off the ledge, and I just go, well, this is really interesting, but none of this is about your contract. This is all your fears. But
And that's, agents totally ruin it so many times on the inspection piece.
Well,
Because
yeah.
they get freaked out. It's a house. It's a man-made product. Is there something that can't be remedied by somebody? You know what I mean? It's get to know your house day is what I call inspection.
I would advise, yeah, you're right. I mean, I tell my clients right up front, here's how I look at inspections. I spell it out. I say, we're not here to ask for cosmetic fixes because you all saw what the house looked like and the seller's not going to do that. You're here to find out, is there serious structural issues? And in my book, it's not serious if it's under $1,000, period.
That's a great preamble.
So now let's look at the house. I don't talk about the house. I don't advise. I sit silent and I let the inspector do their job. I follow the inspector when he talks to my clients. And at the end of the whole conversation, depending on what he says or she says, I will say, okay, so for what I'm hearing, this one thing seems to be a major thing. Is that correct? I don't even focus on the other thing. And then I just tell my clients, hey, the report's coming in tonight. Why don't you look at it, sleep on it? Let's talk in the morning about what you want. Then I let my client tell me what they want. And then I work on a response with them.
But what he's done is he's already given them a mindset of being relaxed about it.
Yeah.
And that's,
But if you're this kind of agent walking around and then you talk to him afterwards and you start pointing things out on this, you're setting yourself up for a lot of work because you're now getting them hyped up on things
Yeah.
that they may not even have
Well, in
cared
this
about.
market, you're not going to get it, and that was a conversation. I
Well,
think
no,
these guys
don't.
know-
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
In this market, saying you're not going to get it
Well,
is
but you're
wrong.
not going to get a lot.
That's wrong too.
I'm sorry. I think maybe
Because
they
there are
already got that
not every
dealt
deal
to
you
them
guys
by
has
these
multiple
guys. Yeah.
offers.
Well, this one didn't either, but the sellers were that.
Well, but here's the
horrible.
thing. In this market, when you get a seller who didn't get a multiple offer because they were overpriced, they're going to be like screaming little children, kicking and screaming and crying the whole way. But guess what? You're representing a buyer. I don't care how much they kick and scream. That's the listing agent's problem. My problem is my client, and I'm going to give him a deal. You know?
Mhm.
But, I mean, you got to do an inspection after. I mean, obviously, you got to do an inspection after, and you got them to do stuff. So you did really great.
I mean, we got
Why are you?
$1,000.
Why are you?
Way to
go.
I feel like
I-
you're
I-
sitting
you know what,
here
I
and
was
you're trying to
nervous.
beat yourself
Yeah,
up
I
like
know.
you didn't do a good job,
No, I was
and you got a
nervous.
house,
There
not
was-
in a multiple offer,
Yeah.
and an inspection afterwards.
And
That's
I feel,
pretty
I think
amazing.
I feel bad because they had to pay more than what, you know
what?
But on the
Again,
other hand, they
stop,
could've had-
stop,
They were willing
stop.
to do it.
I know, you're right. They
You
were
feel
willing to
bad
do it.
because they paid $10,000 over asking and it
The
wasn't
original
multiple. Well,
And
guess
you're
what?
right. If it would've
Why
been
are you
multiple,
feeling
yeah.
bad when your buyer is so thrilled
Yeah.
they got in a house, they paid $10,000 more?
Yeah.
You listen to your buyers and not to yourself for a while.
Okay,
Try that
you're
for a
right.
week.
So,
If they're happy, I think you should be happy.
okay, I'm gonna be happy.
Okay.
Damn it, I'm so happy. I'm
Smile.
so damn happy. No, but, okay, so back to what you just said about, like, you said something
Get to
about,
know your house day.
yeah, and then, like, maybe the worst thing that could happen too, back to your PILA, is that what we call that?
Yeah.
PILA?
PLIA.
So speaking with the oil tank guy, he's just going, you know, they did the permit, the work, he goes, you got nothing to worry about, if there was any, because I'm going, well, what if there was actual decontamination in there? He's going, it's been so long ago, and he goes, if they get in there and they do the remodel, he's kind of asking, well, what do they want to do, where do they want to do it? If they get in there, if there's any, he goes, you just spread it around.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I want to stop you right now because we're going to move on.
Okay.
This is kind of a conversation we're killing. What an inspector says, or a company that's hired by your client, if they're satisfied with it, period, then they're satisfied, and you move on, and you don't harp on it. Okay. Next question.
Can I, sorry.
Yeah.
The 35R.
35R. Yeah.
If you have two, you can just send one and that's totally fine to the lender.
You will only ever send your lender one 35R. You will never send them two. 35R is if you are requesting additional inspections, then you'll use your 35R and check the box for additional inspections, and you send that over with a copy of the inspection report, the page that says you need to get a qualified contractor. That you don't really send over to a lender because that's just a formality of extending your inspection. It's when you finish and now you've negotiated, and then the final one that goes back and forth that you've all agreed on, that you will send to your lender and to escrow. Okay?
And if you agree on a credit,
Yeah.
or they have made the repairs, and you have evidence of that, you can also refer to a 34, which just says that.
Well, yeah, well, that's part of your
35.
35.
Credit of such and
Yeah.
such, and we're moving to close.
Yeah.
On it before, so that's the simple thing to send to the underwriter.
The most simplest 35R response is seller agrees to credit additional amount of money towards closing costs. They don't question it. It's when you have a big laundry list, you cross out 4 items, you leave 3 in, and if they determine some that you crossed out are, structurally imperative that they be taken care of, then they call it out. I mean, you guys, I wouldn't worry about lenders that much. What are they going to call out? A roof needs to be replaced. That's pretty common knowledge. Even the appraiser can call that out. They're going to call out if you're doing VA. Last year I did a couple VA. Last year they're really big on handrails. I had to have installed proper handrails along steps up to the house of a house that's 100 years old that never had handrails because VA says it has to be there.
VA?
You just do it. Yeah.
I had floors be called out, which was a crack up on a fixer.
For a VA?
No, this was a FHA.
Oh,
But
FHA.
there was no floors. There was what do you call it?
No carpet?
Subflooring,
Mm-hmm.
because it was bought as is or whatever.
Oh, and they wanted carpet on it or something.
No, they didn't call out anything on the subfloors in any part of the house except the bathroom. So we went and bought peel off stuff and didn't peel them off and just threw them down, and the guy came back out and he approved it. He knew what we were doing, but he said that's
And then did
you return
if you have an FHA or a VA loan, I will tell you that their appraisers are ones that will call things out. And they will not have anything to do with your Form 35. And the reason is because they're under different guidelines that they have to look at when they're looking at these homes. And sellers sometimes get upset, but if you're a good listing agent and you're going to go with one of those, you better be telling your seller up front that, I think your home's in great shape. I don't think they'll call out anything, but it could happen. And if they do, you're not closing until you prove the work's done.
I had a bank-owned property that we purchased, and it was a conventional financing. It shouldn't have had anything.
Right.
The major things were taken care of. And that appraiser that came out did his own inspection and called out the pickiest little shit. There was a whole laundry list of stuff, and it was like,
I would have raised
bloody hell on
that one.
I did, but my buyer just kind of went, nah, just close it, just say yes. And I was like,
Well,
"But
then
you
again,
shouldn't be able to do
but
that."
again, this goes back to what we were talking
And I
about.
had to just
If
say,
your
"Shut
buyer
up."
is happy, shut
I
up.
know, it was like.
Shut up.
Okay, less is more.
Don't, sometimes agents, you put yourself in a really bad situation because you don't listen to your client and hear that the question's answered, but you have to boast further to prove your worth. But in proving your worth, you're stirring the pot up, and now you got a big situation that if you just listened and moved on, never would have happened. Okay? Yeah.
I have a two-part question, actually. I think you all are really going to enjoy this question.
I don't know if I'm going to enjoy the question or not
You will.
until I hear
So
it.
it's about negotiating in multiple offers.
Where are you going?
I gotta meet with Via real quick.
She told you, she get back here. She can wait. Via can wait. Oh, text her back, said Eric said you can wait. All right, anyway, so what's this two-part question?
Multiple offer situation, two-part question. I want to build a little bit of context before I ask. So I wrote a deal, is like the riskiest deal that
You
I
wrote the
last week.
riskiest deal of your career. Well,
We
that
waived-
right there is
Waived
scary.
everything and released earnest money.
Oh,
So-
but it's your riskiest deal because you waived everything and
released
earnest money?
Yeah.
That seems like a common offer these days.
Yeah, and that's it. So I want to learn more about that.
Okay.
So we did our due diligence. The comps looked good, so we knew we were going to be good on appraisal up to our escalator.
Mm-hmm.
The very strong HOA. No problems on inspection. This pre-inspection was uploaded, so we were okay with that. The seller provided that. Financing looked good. I talked to the lender. It was Guild. They could do a short close. I asked, can we waive financing? They were like,
No lender will ever agree to waive financing.
exactly. Well, they're like, well, agents do that, but we can't tell you whether you can or not. So you
want to know how to maneuver this field?
Yeah.
Is that
So
what you're
I just
asking?
want to know how. We didn't get the deal, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Someone beat us with.
All right,
with
if you
cash,
didn't get
but
the deal, first question I always ask, did you call the agent the next day and say, what about our offer wasn't right for your client so that I can
we
help?
had time to negotiate. We were going back and forth, and my buyer he had a principle with certain
He just didn't want
price.
to pay more.
Yeah, and going back now, there's multiple ways I could have made it happen, but that's done. It's fine. We're looking at more houses now, but I was just like laying in bed, like, holy crap! We
All
just
right.
submitted something. Like, what if it what if it doesn't?
So let me ask you this. Have you read the 7-page buyer disclosure that's in your buyer disclosure?
Yeah. So this is when.
And you've read it?
When the attorneys presented it at
Yeah.
our office last year, that's when I read it, and I haven't read it since. So
I would
don't even
suggest I would suggest you read that again. Because
Yeah.
what it is it's going through there and it's telling you all the things that buyers are doing on their offers today, and it's saying here's the risk. So anything you do with your client writing an offer, you need to explain, hey, here's things I think would maybe make your offer better. This is what a lot of buyers are doing. But the decision rests with you, buyer, as to what risks you're willing to take on. My job is to make sure you understand the risks, tell you how maybe your offer can be stronger, but I will go with what you decide. I make sure all this is in writing because, even if I have a discussion with them like, hey, we're going to waive this or that, I will send them an email and say, okay, I want to make sure we're on the same page. You want to waive these following things and that you're aware of the risk. As far as your financing, no lender will ever say to them, oh, go ahead, waive, you're going to close. But you want to be working with lenders that you know do close.
Yeah.
You want to work with a lender that did a fully underwritten loan. Do you know what a fully underwritten versus a pre-approval?
Pre-approval.
Okay, you want a fully underwritten loan because if they're fully underwritten, then it's the appraisal that's the fear. But you're saying you did your research and you had supporting comps that it would appraise at the spot we're escalating. But then again, if I do all that for my...
Yeah, we also had a discussion in case it appraises 5, 10, 15 low.
If they're willing to make up the difference.
Yeah, to make up the
right,
difference.
and all that's, you're doing everything correct in how you're advising them. But like even when I say in my email, I'll say, okay, I feel pretty confident that appraisal won't be an issue, But I always put, but I'm not an appraiser, and I cannot guarantee what it will appraise at. So be aware you might have to make up some money if it's a low appraisal to close, or because you release the earnest money, that could be at risk.
Yeah.
So if you just are very upfront and discussing all these things, you're fine. It's the buyer's decision. Accept what they want to do and go with it. If they're going to waive financing, I always tell them, I say, talk to your lender. Get their opinion. I know good lenders out there, they'll say, well, I can't really advise you, but everything I see in your file, there's no red flags because we've fully underwritten it and we just need an appraisal. Are you comfortable with the appraisal? What's your agent say? You know, that's how they're going to answer.
Then they lose their job and they don't qualify.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the
Yeah, I mean,
lenders
that's
do.
the
They-
biggest
Somebody
fear.
got hit by
Even
a
if you're
bus,
fully
yeah.
underwritten, if you lose your
Exactly.
job,
Uh-huh.
you lose the house. You're not going to close.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So does that help with your
yeah.
fear?
I mean, once you submit it, that fear goes away. You're just like,
Yeah.
all right, well, it's done.
Yeah.
So
But
we're
what I'm
at
trying to
more like
say
that.
is you want in writing where you are saying
Yeah.
you're discussing this and you've advised them. And the reason is because you want to protect yourself from the after effect of their saying, oh, we got on contract and now I have to make up the $50,000 on a low appraisal and I released all this earnest money and now they get mad at you. And you say, well, remember we talked? They will never remember you talked.
Oh yeah. What I usually do is before we write the contract, I send out all the terms in bullet points. You know, everything from price escalation to appraisal.
Right, but if you say in it, you're aware of the risk and blah, blah,
and I
blah.
think I'll be adding that now. In these are,
Because as a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure a lawyer would see, oh, here's the bullet points you're going to do, might be able to go after you a little bit and say, you know we're in here to discuss risks. And that's the issue of this lawsuit is they were not advised correctly.
makes sense. Okay, so part two to my question. This is the exciting one.
Oh, I thought that was everything. So there's
Yeah,
part
no,
two.
yeah,
Okay.
There's part two, yeah. So communication was great. This guy found the house on his own and then looked at the open. I went, looked at it. You know, we started communicating with the listing agent one day before writing the offer. Everything went great. She was very talkative, very friendly, like a seasoned listing agent, someone who knows how to.
Yeah, watch out for a seasoned listing agent.
Yeah, well, at least she was really nice on the phone. But you know,
Oh, we're
the nice-
always nice.
The nice ones are the good negotiators. So come off a review day, you know, I'm fishing for more info. She's like, well, we got one offer in, and then I'm asking, hey, what are we looking like? And she's like, well, I can't tell you the price, but it's about 10% over. I was like, all right, we're about there. You know, they do have a finance contingency and appraisal contingency. She just said that to me. So, I mean, I knew we were going to need to write, you know, something cleaner than that. And this
Oh,
is
she
where,
said the offer she had
Yeah.
a financing contingency?
Yeah.
Okay.
She said that, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
She can.
so we started basing our offer from there, and then come offer review. I'm still talking to her. Communication, it's great. She's like, I want to talk to your lender, this and that. And,
Right.
and that went good. Come offer review hour, and I'm calling her last minute again. Hey, I just want to make sure what's going on. Oh, we got 2 more offers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know anything. So, do you have any? Okay, so for a little bit more context, we were offer number 2.
Right.
Our offer was the cleanest one. The one that beat us had a finance contingency,
Right.
just finance contingency, and they kept their earnest money. What could have I done? Like, what's your trick? How do you win offers? Our we didn't want to pay the highest price.
That's
Well,
why you lost. You didn't pay the price.
That's
It
true.
sounds like,
We
because it sounds like to me this listing agent was calling you saying basically, we love your terms,
yeah.
But
She
you have
offered
to-
us. She's like, can
but
you meet? Can
you
match
need
that
to
price?
meet and match the price.
Yeah.
And that's a very common negotiation. And if I have a buyer and I go, hey, we've done everything right, do you want this house? And then if they start going, well, I don't want to pay him 20 grand more, it's like, okay, that's fine, but I want you to think first. Are you willing to give up this home because we've written this contract and you've told me this is the home you love? Are you willing to give it up for that $20,000? And now we're going to go back out because I want to make sure that you're not ever going to regret and think about the house that got away while we go back out there and it's low inventory and not maybe find anything.
I'm sorry, did she actually tell you the price that
Yeah.
you
Well,
know, we want you to
okay,
meet
so
this price?
here's where I think I could have done something differently.
Yeah.
And we could have gotten it before. So we went to the max escalator that we could,
Right.
which was, I haven't read
There's
that
nothing
many.
wrong with going to your
But
max
the thing was,
escalator.
is like, we were already 50 above ask, and, you know, the offer that was 5,000 higher than us, their escalator wasn't 5,000 higher, or their price wasn't 5,000 higher than us. Their escalator was. So technically, they were probably like 20, maybe 2,000
Well,
higher.
okay, first of all, stop right there. Their offer is whatever their escalator goes up to, that's their offer, period. If they went to an escalator 5,000 more than you, their offer is good
Yeah.
for 5,000 more than you. This listing agent coming back saying, will you match 5,000, and your buyer said no,
Yeah.
is a stupid buyer. I'm sorry, but in this
Oh,
market, to give it
he's
up for
regretting it.
5,000,
Yeah, he's
yeah, and he's
regretting
regretting it
yeah.
now. But did you hear what I said to how I would have counseled him? Did you hear what I was doing?
Yep.
What was I doing?
You're letting them know you are going to go back out there, and it could be 10 more offers
Yeah.
before we get that house, and you will pay more than
Are you
potentially
okay with
what
that?
you were.
Yeah, are you okay
So-
with that?
Yeah, so
Give up.
I should have pushed harder on him, but
Yeah.
he was like, engineer, Google guy, oh no, this is my principal.
Oh,
And
engineers, they're fun.
Yeah. He waived everything. That was great.
Yeah.
So,
But so my only advice to you in hindsight is be really thorough before you. Just because your client says no in a negotiations doesn't mean it's going to be a no.
yeah.
You got to remember your job is you're trying to pull a deal together with another party. And part of it sometimes is hard because you get your client who's like, no, no, no. And it's like you got to hear it. And like a average Asian would be like, okay, it's no. Boom, now I'm back out and I'm stuck another 6 months looking with them. Whereas an experienced agent would sit down and go, well, no, I hear it's no. But let's talk about this. Let's think about a few things here. This is $5,000. Are you willing to give it up for $5,000 and go back out there and know, God knows when you'll find another house that you're going to like, and how many offers you're going to compete, and if it will be even more expensive than this one.
Yeah, and in that case, we just ask for a counter. Always ask for a counter.
Well, at that point, it's not asking for a counter. At that point, you're
If he
being
agrees,
told
yeah.
it's $5,000. There's no counter. You got to remember it's the seller market, and if they're
Because-
saying all you have to do is match 5,000, then that means the rest of your deal there's no discussion on. It's just a matter of paying them 5,000 because they've agreed
Yeah.
to all your terms.
They gave you an opportunity.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And if
You
would
did
agree-
really good. It's just your buyer
I know. I like
was being
stepped up
foolish.
to bat and so close. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they sometimes just need to feel the burn before they.
I think that that's typical. So I thought of something else. So I thought, what if we didn't go to our highest?
That won't
ability
work.
to
Okay, I
escalate?
think I know where you're going. And that
And-
is holding back something.
Yeah, holding back.
No, doesn't work.
Really.
And you know why? And this is what I tell my buyers too. If you want to hold back, you know what? This is the game we're playing today is all cards on the table. Period. There is no opportunity or guarantee that that listing agent is going to call you and go, hey, so what are the rest of your cards? They're not. They got multiple offers. You escalated 25,000 over, and they've got all these over here escalating 75,000 over. Even though you got great terms, they've got 3 that escalated 75,000. They're looking at those 3. You're gone.
So you saying
You're gone. They're not even going to talk to you because you held your cards in when your guy could have escalated to 80. But he was like, well, let's not do that yet because we'll do only 50, and then we'll raise it if we need to. You know how many times, how many listing agents are going to call you and say, is this really all you can escalate?
Right. They're not.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not.
true.
They're
Yeah,
not going
that's true.
to.
Sometimes there have been sellers that other things matter more than the dollar.
Oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
the great question to ask
94-year-old.
when you call
yeah.
is, hey, if I was to write the perfect offer, and submit it with multiple other offers, what is going to speak loudest to your seller right now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We
And
knew
they'll
that.
tell you.
Yeah, we knew that very upfront. Yeah,
You
we
know-
knew
you
what-
They
know
might
one
say
thing-
a closing date in 20 days
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what's going to make this happen.
I
And you
mean,
might be able to get it for
So
less.
many
Yeah.
agents don't say to a listing agent, what is most important to your
Yeah.
seller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what else? When you are submitting your offer, and let's say you called the agent, and she said, well, I have one offer. agents go, oh, okay. You know, to me, that's like, oh, you got an offer in hand? What do I need to do to make my offer better right now than
we
that
did
one?
all that. Yeah, that, yeah.
You know, because you might get the listing agent who'll say, well, you know, I can't discuss any of this with them. And I would say, actually, you can tell me everything on that if your seller wants to promote getting a better offer, because we want to write a better offer than that. So tell me, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
You know, I will never submit an offer early.
That's what you should be writing down, what
Because
he says. and
I
that's a
don't
script.
want my offer used against my buyer for the next 4 hours while other people are calling and getting their last minute offers together. I want my offer to go in like 10 minutes before they say it's review, but I've been asking, hey, you've got offers in, let me know.
See, Eric, that was actually my question. Okay, if they're like, all right, resubmit at 5,000 more. How do I know that they don't have 2 other offers that they're just going to use ours?
You don't.
You don't.
Could
You
I
know,
ask for
you-
a counter? Be like, okay, counter me, we'll do
Well,
it.
no,
We'll
you
sign
can
it.
say, okay, here, you can say to the listing agent, great, send it over, put in the additional 5,000 on our escalator, we'll sign, we'll have mutual.
That's a good one.
That's
That's a
what
good
That
you're
way
saying.
you put the ball back into your
Well,
court.
as soon as
No, I
it's
put it
signed,
back
it's
on the
mutual.
seller. Okay, we said we'll meet you 5,000,
Here
send
he
it
said.
right over, put on the 5,000 additional on our escalator, let's get this signed around. If the listing agent says to me, all right, well, resubmit your offer, I'd be like, oh, we don't need to, you just need to make that quick change, my guy's ready to sign.
And you get it? Now
Is
you're
it-
not being used, you're getting a mutual offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They've
I wasn't
countered
following.
it
You're
back
just
to
saying,
you as soon as your guys sign it. You're
I mean, because if you're talking
Yeah,
verbal,
that's-
like, and
yeah.
I've had this discussion with many, I've been on both sides of just matching. And it's like, great, let's do it, send it over.
Yeah.
You know, and as the list side, when I send that over to you, you know what I tell you? I go, I'm not telling anyone else until I get this back, it's mutual, so I suggest you do it quickly because my buyers does not want to wait that long. I'm putting the pressure on you.
So okay, so always go to the max of the escalator.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, I've had buyers who've held back and they don't listen and then they lose and then I call the
That's
seller the
true.
next
Yeah,
day
that's true.
and the list agent says, here's what was wrong with your offer, and I go back to my buyer and they go, we should have done what you said.
Yeah,
And it's good script is, are we playing to win or are we playing to practice?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, well, they say, yeah, it's at 50,000 over ask. It's not really at 50,000 over. That's what the max to the escalator, but depending on that
The
increment,
price is
you know.
whatever you and a buyer agree to. Done. It's
Yeah.
whatever the parties agree to. And that's the price. Now, I got a really fun one. What are you going to do now when they call you up and say, hey, I got 2 offers here, or I have 3 offers here, and you're all so close that we're going back to you and saying, we're throwing out all the escalations, and you just have to write your highest and best.
Oh, never, yeah.
Why would you say never?
Be like, we'll match the highest offer. Just send us a counter with the computer.
Oh, you'll match the highest offer, just send us a counter? Well, I'd throw you out right then. I'd be like, that's not what my seller wants. It's highest or best. You're being a cocky agent back there telling me,
Yeah.
well, we're not going to play that game.
The
Just send us
seller's
the highest and best and we'll match. Well, it's like, well, why would I even need to do that? I already got a highest and best. Bye. Click. You're out. Why would you say right up front, we're not going to do it? You just made a decision for your buyer. That's illegal. You don't make decisions. Your buyers make decisions. You have to learn how to talk to them when that situation comes up. So how are you going to talk to them that now their escalations are going to be thrown out if they want to buy this house?
I mean, they have to be okay. Like whatever their max escalator
I'm
is.
asking, how are you going to talk to them? Not that they've got to be okay.
I'd probably say, so we agreed to escalate up to this amount. We have to throw the escalator out because we have other competing offers close to where we're
Mhm.
at. We have to come in at purchase price somewhere close to, or maybe we need to do better, or else we're going to miss
Well,
out.
highest or best, they're kind of saying you're all pretty much same means they're expecting you to come back
Yeah.
with a higher price.
So, I mean, that'd be a tough conversation. I'd be
It's tough.
probably calling Eric before Eric.
What does Eric say? Let's hear yours.
Yeah, what is
All
it?
right, here's what I do. I say, hey, this is really not fun, but they're saying they want to throw out the escalation, do highest and best. Well, we don't want to do that. Okay, we can say that. We'll just say we're going to keep ours as is. That's fine if you want. I don't know if they'll take your offer, though, because they have 2 other offers, they're doing this. Well, how do we know those offers even exist? We don't. So are you telling me it could be a bluff? Could be.
It's really tough.
I have no proof, because if they throw that out, we're not going to see the other offers. Well, I don't like this. I don't like it either. But do you want the house? Because they're putting it out there. This is how you're going to get the house. So I have to ask you, how bad do you want this house? I'm not going to just walk away and say we're not going to do it. I'm going to present it to my client and let them make a decision. I've had this conversation many times, and you know what? Either they say we just don't want to do it, and then I go back, our offer stays as it is. Never won when I did. They always went with someone else because others stepped up. Does it mean you have to pay another $25,000? Not necessarily. Maybe you pay $10,000 more. Who knows? But you just got to be honest, you know. I'm honest. Yeah, it might be a bluff. I'm honest. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I think
But the bottom line is, this is how the seller said they're selling their house, and this is seller's market, and they have every right to do that if they want. Doesn't mean you have to play it. Doesn't mean you have to participate.
Yeah, I guess this is like more of like maybe an experience, like a very relative case by case scenario question. But I mean, how many agents do bluff? I mean, I'm sure.
How many agents bluff?
We'll
There's
decide.
no statistics on any data drive that I know out there that Facebook has. So,
But I mean, in your experience, I'm just curious to see, like, all right, what?
well, let me ask you this: do you bluff?
So,
Do you bluff?
there was this one deal.
So you do bluff.
So yeah.
Okay, so I think you just answered your question. How many agents out there bluff? You do.
Man,
Now that I
maybe
know
should
that,
ask
though,
you-
I'm going to
Yeah.
remember that.
You just exposed yourself to the room.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a listing, the listing agent says, yes, I have other offers in. You submit with an escalation clause, but they counter back at your highest escalation. But said but they aren't giving you any of the other offers. They're
Yeah.
saying taking out the
They're
escalation,
yeah.
and just countering it.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. So yes, you
So it
could
doesn't-
submit, you can have an escalation, they can say we're throwing it out, and we're going to sell it to you at the top of your
Yeah,
escalation,
you want it.
and do you want it?
Yeah.
Well, then you go back to your buyer again. I say, hey, it's your house. This is how they want to do it. Well, I don't know. And I would say to them, well, you already said you were fine paying that price, didn't you? They're offering it to you. The thing they're not offering you is that there's another offer out there. Well, how do we know there is? We don't know if there's another offer out there.
Yeah.
I can't force them to show it.
Okay,
Now,
that's
I
a
could try,
conversation I
but-
had with them
right,
when it happened, but it was weird.
But you know
Can
what?
we do
But
it, you know?
before I even have that conversation with my buyer,
Mhm.
you know the first thing I say to that listing agent when they send it over? Or they're, because you know, you've already had this discussion with them about this is what they're going to do. Well, when they do that, first thing I always say is, you know, I think they'll be okay throwing that escalation out, but they're first-time buyers. They're still not gonna, they still want to see the offer. So are you okay sending over the offer with it still? Because I'm pretty sure I can get them.
awesome.
I'm pretty sure I can get them to like give it, throw it out, but they just want to see the offer.
That's awesome. I
Did
like
you
that.
No,
say
no,
it
no.
nice
We're
like
not
that,
going to
yeah.
show you anything. I'll go, well, you know, if I go back and tell them that, I think then they're going to question, you know, are you pulling them? And I'm certainly not saying that that's the case, but I don't see why there would be an issue showing the offer anyway if it's there and you're saying it's there.
I love that. That's good. Write that down.
That would have been good.
You know?
Erica?
Yeah.
If you're the listing agent, and I remember Annie Fitzsimmons had a video about the seller actually rejecting the listing price,
Yeah.
which is their prerogative.
Yeah.
And so you're in an escalation. I'm the listing agent, and I go back to the competing offer and just say, even though I know that we're at the top of the escalation for the winning, the first in line, let's say.
Right.
I can go back to the competing offer and say, look, we're at, you know, this price, you're under, give us your highest and best, and, you know, if in fact you top the first in line by whatever margin, the listing agent can then go back to the first in line and they can keep doing this, can't
Yeah.
they? So,
Yeah.
so at some point, you don't have to release what the offer is, or do you, as a listing agent, tell them what the top bid is when you make
All right, first of all, there's kind of a number of questions in there. So one question is, how, like, you know, you have the highest escalation, but now the seller's coming back and they're wanting more money?
Sure.
Right, well, a seller can ask that.
Or they're at the top of
But then you
of the best
agree,
escalation.
But then your next question is they agree, you say, yeah, we'll pay you $10,000 above the escalated price, but now you're saying, now they go to the other offer and say, well, hey, they're already up to here, do you want to go up over there? That listing agent is playing a very dangerous game because your buyers are not probably, they're only going to be there so long. So if you're going to one, getting it up, and then you call the other to get it up, and then you call them back, and that one now you say, well, you know, it was great you came up, but now the other one's come up, you're going to go up more? If I was the buyer's agent at that point, I would say, you know, you're playing a really dangerous game here because obviously you're pitting us both against each other to try to get nickel and dime me. So I am going to let my buyer know that that's your strategy, and I'll get back to you. But if you called me up originally and said, hey, will they pay this much more over list price? First thing I would have said is, yeah, they will. Send over the contract with all your initials at the new price and we'll sign. I'm not going to sit there and send one over.
Listing agent.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
say to the listing
Awesome.
agent, send it to us and we'll initial. If they're not going to send it to me, then I'm like, we're not going to write and send it to you and let you
Right.
sit on it while
And
you
then
use
go
this
back to
against
the
me
other
and
guy.
another offer.
However, the listing agent and representing the seller could continue this game.
Yeah,
They could
I mean,
burn
a
themselves
seller,
if they
okay, you
could.
guys all need to understand. A seller doesn't have to sell their house at what the list price is. I've had agents say, we had a bona fide offer. We offered even over list price, and they didn't accept it. And my buyer is really upset and thinks that they should sue him. And I'm like,
There's no
I think,
contingency.
But I'm like-
that right there is the legality of it.
what?
If there's
If there's
zero
no
contingencies,
contingency.
it's a legality.
You know what, you guys? Sellers don't have to sell because you've waived everything and you're the highest priced offer. They're not obligated.
Am I
There,
correct?
your
You could.
offer has a million different scenarios in there on terms, and there could be one little minor term that they're not happy with. They don't have to counter you and say they're not happy with the term. They just say, we don't want your offer.
Or
They don't-
can't they even say we don't choose to sell it anymore? I mean, if
Well,
they
I
haven't
thought
signed
that
it.
they
Sellers
signed a
take
contract with
homes
the
off the
MLS.
market.
That's why we
A
paid
seller can have 5 offers in front of them and say, you know what, Eric?
We're not gonna sell
Things have changed. We decided we want to sell a house. I got to call all 5 offers and say
But
they're
doesn't he
deciding.
have to pay you then? Because
I'm
you
not going to
brought
go
them-
after him for it,
you
but
brought them qualified
technically,
buyers.
yeah, but they'll probably have to sue him.
Okay.
I
But it's a-
can't.
it's a-
There's
it's
no
a case.
money to pay me sitting at escrow. That's not an escrow thing. That would be between my lawyer and their lawyer and me suing them for commission. And again, do I want to waste all this money to try to go sue a client to get commission and have him on social media? I probably won't.
But what that is another conversation you have that says this is.
And that's
what's
when you
going
bring in
on.
lawyers and you get their advice to see if you have a right to it. But if you come to me and squawking, my buyer should have got this house because we were the highest and best, I'll look at you and go, seller didn't like something in your offer.
Yeah, I guess I always thought if,
Highest and best does not mean you win and get the house.
no, I thought that if you gave them the list price with no contingencies whatsoever, basically they had to sell because they contracted with the listing agent and the MLS to be able to, that
First
said they
of
were
all,
selling it.
I'm not a lawyer, okay?
Okay.
And you're asking legal questions.
Okay.
Maybe they will owe a commission, but it doesn't mean they owe a house to that buyer.
Shoot,
Because you know what? Sellers could had a major change in their life suddenly.
Sure.
You know, suddenly they were selling because they were divorcing. Now they got back together. They don't want to sell the house. So what? You waived all your things and all. We're not selling. Bye.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know. You as a buyer's agent, do you have something against seller demand commission? Maybe. I don't know. go get a lawyer, because you're going to have to get a lawyer, and you're going to have to sue him for it.
The first time a listing agent ever said highest and best, we're scrapping all the deals that came in and we just want your highest and best.
Yeah.
I didn't talk like you because I think that's brilliant. But it was my mom buying a place downtown Seattle. And I went back and told her that. And she goes, nope, I'm not playing that game. And I go, well, and I said what you say. And she goes, no, I just don't want to play that game. And I go, okay, fine. He said by a certain date tomorrow. And the time came by the next day, and the guy called me and goes, where's your offer? And I go, oh, no, we're not playing that game. He didn't get any offers.
Right. And that happens sometimes. Exactly. I mean, sometimes they're playing a bluff, and you played the bluff back. But, you've got to make sure your client understands your strategy. If you think you're going to call a bluff, then you need to say, well, it could be that they're bluffing. And they might say, well, and it might work if we stay as it is. But I don't know. I let them know. I don't know.
But
It's a strategy.
It's that if you just stay where you're at, it doesn't always work.
It's great.
No, it doesn't always
Yeah, I
work.
love that.
But it might work.
Make
I
sure
had
you
someone try to
initial it
bluff me
and
once, like Tracy, trying to get us up. We didn't. My client was like, nope, I know that house, I know this people, and I don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
And so we said no, and he came back, and there was no escalation because he didn't have anything.
Love it.
If you start saying to them, okay, you want to throw it out, but we still want to see the offer, we're happy to throw it out, and they're starting to hem and haw, well, then that's probably they don't have it, because if they had it, why do they care if they show it?
Exactly.
Love that.
Do you any advice on coming in before offer review?
All right, coming in before offer review, any advice?
I did it once.
It can work in your favor, and you can get deals, and it happens. A lot of people do it.
Yeah, I see that
First
all
thing
the
I
time.
do is when I know there's a house and they have a review period and my clients consider it, first thing out of my mouth I say, hey, are you willing to look at an offer early?
Mm-hmm.
And if they say no, I say, okay, so you're saying no, and you're guaranteeing me that you're really going to stick to it, because if we're going to do pre-inspections and all, I'm happy to honor that, and I'm fine with that. But if you think that they would entertain another one and sell before, I want to know too, because I do want to make sure we have an opportunity. A smart listing agent, if they're going to get an offer in early and think they're going to go with it, has done a disservice to their seller if they don't call every agent who's shown interest and ask questions about pre-inspections and said, we have an offer coming in today. It's unfortunate it's coming in early. I want to let you guys know in case you all want to write an offer too really quick. Because you want to get the best for your seller. But if you're going to write an offer early, don't expect to just waive everything at full price. They're looking that you're going to give a nice price to them without an escalation. So you're going to have to figure out, what do you think will be the price that we'll get in? We're not going to get in a high escalation. Because basically, I don't see many things selling before they reach the review date unless you're offering them more money up front.
Oh yeah, that's
I
pretty obvious. Yeah.
I represented the sellers, and the agent insisted on, getting it in early and this kind of thing, and I countered back at a higher price. He goes, well, why is that? And I said, if you want us to take it off the market before we have time for, open houses, and he just was, whoa, what the? That was good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're being honest.
But they bought it, and it closed.
I like that. That's good
Yeah,
too.
I mean, there's no reason that a seller can't say, if you're going to, a listing agent can say that. Hey, if you want to submit an offer early, that's great. They're looking for at least $100,000 over asking if they're going to consider that.
That's awesome.
Wow.
You can say
That's
whatever you
excellent.
want.
Yeah.
But let's say you do submit early, and now they don't go with you. First rule, don't submit an offer early and have a days to review. You submit it early, and that offer is only good till that day. Tonight. Because one, you don't want them to be able to take that offer and use it to escalate someone up later. Because this is one thing to remember. When you're throwing here's the offer that escalated above me, look on it and see how good that offer is. Because if they submitted that offer, and let's say they submitted it 3 days early, and they didn't have a date, well, that offer is only good for 2 days, 48 hours. On day 3 now, when they reviewed, they can't use that offer to escalate. It's not a bona fide offer.
It's only good for 2 days.
So you better make sure that the offer they're using to escalate is at a date that it was still a good offer when they sent that over to Go Mutual. But if you do submit early, I tell my client up front, well, we're going to have to resubmit because we're going to have to rethink this through if you still want it because they refused.
The standard time when an offer expires is
48 hours if you don't have a timeline.
if you don't. Okay, because I usually do when I put one in, it's the next day.
Yeah, and that's
so
fine.
like tomorrow, so it'd be 9 p.m. tomorrow unless
Yeah.
specified.
Yeah, because if you don't put a deadline, it's good for 48 hours till 9 p.m. that second day.
Yeah.
If you counter and you don't put a deadline on a counter, it's good for 48 hours till 9 p.m. Just be aware of that. Because we had an agent who countered recently and didn't hear anything from the listing or from the buyer's agent for 5 hours and just assumed, well, nothing's happening. So she sold it to another person that she went out and negotiated with, and guess what? The other offer came back, signed off, and she had 2 mutuals.
Ouch.
Oh, God.
And the one that had been sitting on all those hours got it in date timestamp before the one she'd been negotiating with by minutes.
Ooh.
And and then what happened?
Lawyers.
And then what happened?
The one that would have been in second position, our lawyer had a conversation with and just said, you know, date timestamp is this one got in first, so we think pretty sure the courts are going to go that way. So do you guys really have it in you to pursue this? And they didn't, and they backed down. So they're lucky, but if you counter, that's good for 48 hours. So if you're going to like suddenly think, well, they never responded.
Can you put a timeline on that?
On a counter, absolutely.
Shorten it up.
I just
if you
changed
want.
the expiration date.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're countering, you just cross out what the, you write on your counter, this, put in 34 with your client.
Okay.
This offer's good. Counter good till this time.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
so,
what I changed the counter time frame.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not like if I wrote it for April 8th, 2 days later, if I change the expiration date, they're not, I get to have my expiration date, right?
You're not
They're not
asking me
cutting
the
it.
whole question.
I'm sorry, they're not going to cut me off at 48 hours if it's April 8th.
If
on
you
my
put
9th.
like your offer's good to April 8th, then that means it's good till 9 p.m. April 8th. If you put it's good April 8th till 5 p.m., then it's good to 5 p.m.
So what's the one that somebody said that it's actually midnight, not 9 p.m.?
All right.
What's that?
All right. Let's
help
just
me
put
out
that
now?
baby to bed.
9
I am
Please.
so tired of that question.
I remember
All right, everybody. If you don't have a mutual contract, how can you have a timeline that you think you have to abide by that has a 9 p.m. cutoff on mutual?
Okay.
There are no timelines in your contract till you have a mutual contract. Having a mutual contract means timelines begin. So to say you go mutual at 10 p.m. that night means you're not mutual that day because you missed the 9 p.m. deadline is bogus.
I see. Okay.
There is no timeline anywhere in your contract that says mutual has to be by 9 p.m. otherwise the next day.
Got it.
You're mutual whatever time of the day you're mutual. So if you are going mutual at 11:59 p.m. on a Wednesday, you're mutual on Wednesday.
Got it.
And I'm telling you, a lot of agents screw up on that because they come
Yeah.
crying to me later and go, well, we were mutual at 10 p.m., so I didn't. And I said, well, all your timelines are wrong, honey. Get back there and recount.
Timelines can't start till you're mutual.
Yeah, you can't have a timeline to your mutual.
So is it the computation of time that's the 9 p.m.? Like on inspection and stuff?
The 9 p.m. only has to do with timelines once you're mutual.
Right.
So if you
Okay.
say
Oh.
once you're mutual, so then you
Okay.
count your timelines out, right? And whatever day your timeline ends for something, it ends at 9 p.m. that day.
Okay.
Right, so you can actually write an offer with an expiration date at 6 p.m. on whatever date it is.
Right.
And oftentimes I always say when it happens, that just because the seller has not responded doesn't mean you can't get mutual.
Right.
Because they can take their sweet ass time.
Right, no, and
Whatever
that's
they
true.
want to accept.
No, because if you put 6 p.m. and the seller says, hey, we need to think about it overnight, well, yeah, technically your offer is no longer good. But if they respond the next day saying, we want to go mutual, and they sign that whole contract, they need to still cross out that deadline time and write in the new date they're sending back and have everyone initial to make it good.
So you countersign if you want to keep the house.
Yeah, and you countersign back and say, well, we've thought about it overnight, but
Thank you very much.
we need a new timeline in here. Do you accept?
Eric, I'm still confused about 35E.
35E?
Yeah, I listened to the Annie Fitzsimmons and I listened to you, and if you're the listing agent, isn't it just easier to avoid the screw up of a miscalculation of the competing offers and all the nuance that you have to put up with in the calculation of what the dollar value is of the competing offer? Throw it out, ask everybody to go to highest and best, or to the competing offer and ask them for the highest and best. So you're actually taking the 35E out. What can you walk through that procedure of how you?
All right, if you want to take 35E out because you're worried about your calculation, that's fine. And the
Well,
reason,
why
and so what you all need to be aware of, if you don't calculate your 35E correctly, then guess what? Your client's not going to get the escalated price, period. He's only going to get list price because you screwed up your calculation. So some agents prefer to throw out 35E and just write a price, so then there's no question of you screwed up the calculation. You have a price. Those same agents who do that generally will still say, we'll send over you the other offer to show you it did escalate. Because they're not trying to hide anything. They're just doing that because they just don't want to be screwing up the calculation.
So what you're just asking is for the buyers to counter with a new offer or
No.
an offer.
No, not at all. I would just,
Or we
no, all you do as a seller is you cross out 35E, you go on your first page of your contract, you cross out 35E, you initial, and then you can use the counter offer addendum at Form 36 if you want, and put here's our new price, cross out the price on page 1 and write in what you want. Get initials and you're done. 35E is out of the contract.
That's pretty smooth.
So you're doing verbals between the parties until.
Well, in this day and age, I pretty much talk, because if I have other offers here, I'm on the phone. I'm not going to, let's counter and wait. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
it's crazy.
I'm going to talk to you now. This is what we need to know. Call your client. You got 5 minutes, and we're going to ask the next one because we're hot.
Okay, interesting.
So then it's
5
like
minutes?
I'm talking. I have coffee dates or I have cocktails later. I don't want to sit here for 2 hours while your person in angst is deciding can they or can't. It's
Happy
like,
hour starts in 5 minutes.
yeah, it's like,
We're popping the
I'm
champagne here
sorry,
pretty soon,
but
so figure it out.
I don't know about all of you. When I submit, I say to the listing agent, what time are you actually sitting down with your client? I want my buyer's phone on. And I tell my buyers, from 7 o'clock on tonight, you better have that phone beside you, because if I call, that means you need to answer a question.
So do you ever fill out the 35E computation?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so here's the question about the 35E computation. So the competing offer, subtract out the buyer credits from their offer. Why do you add the buyer credits to the winning offer on the second?
All right, you're asking a very mathematical type thing. First of all, most of these
Why isn't it addition rather than a subtraction?
because you're looking at two different things.
All right, explain.
One is you're subtracting out what the competing offer. So your competing offer that you're using to escalate, let's say they ask for closing costs of $6,000. So you have to say, yes, this competing offer escalated up to $500,000, but now we need to subtract out their $6,000 closing costs because technically that offer is really $500 minus $6,000.
Right.
So now we have a net price.
Right.
But now what about seller concessions? Oh, but the seller is paying off a $10,000 special assessment.
Well, the second half is for seller concessions.
Yeah.
So you're just looking at
It's buyer
expenses.
concessions, seller concessions.
You're talking about credits and then.
Yeah. But if your questioning is going clear into that second area, I think at that point it's getting complicated. Why don't you throw it out set a price, and say, here's the other competing offer, so you guys are happy. So then they're not worried about you throwing it out. You disclose you had one, and now it's like done. I mean, if it's that hard for you to figure it out, chances are you might want to throw it out and just say, here's the competing offer, here's the price. All right?
Thank you.
I have one small
Thank
question.
you.
There's no small question.
I have a question that
But you have an O2. Hurry up.
you used.
Last
the word,
question.
You said you shouldn't be worrying about lenders. You shouldn't be worrying about appraisals. You said it a few times that you shouldn't be worrying about this. What should we be worrying about?
What you should be worrying about is you're getting your disclosures signed off at beginning relationships. What you should be worrying about is when you're giving advice on how to structure contracts and all, that you have send them an email in writing saying, hey, this is how we're, I just want to make sure, this is how we've all agreed on this, and you're aware that these are your risks. As long as you have proof that you've explained risk, you're okay.
Okay.
All right? All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm glad you all came.
Thank you, Eric.
Brazil strips.